All right, Mike, you're on.
Okay, let me see. There's a share button on here, right? Share screen.
Down at the bottom,
Perfect.
green.
Well, hi, my name is Mike Lloyd. Just real quick, I've been officiating for 30 some seasons now, 4 in Japan, 6 on the East Coast, and the last 20 plus. I moved out here in '99 to Seattle and have been refereeing out here ever since. Love officiating. This little travel demo is something that I normally have a lot of fun doing in person because I do some funny stuff, but I actually found a video of part of it. So I'll share that with you. But traveling is one of our toughest calls that we make and miss throughout the game. Traveling is a POE about every 3rd or 4th season. And
Point of emphasis. Point of
what's
emphasis.
that? Points of emphasis, right? It's normally one of the points of emphasis. So anyway, let me share this guy. So this is a briefing, or a briefing, that's my 20 years of military in me. This is a presentation I've done before, like I said. And so we'll get started with it. It's called Travel in the Spin Move. Traveling, just so you know, the basic definition is it's illegal versus legal foot movement in the high school game. Rule 444 is the rule that covers traveling. It's one you should try to know really well so that when you tell a coach why you called a travel or why you didn't call a travel, you can actually use the rule verbiage as opposed to saying, Coach, he took too many steps. Because in high school, traveling has nothing to do with steps. It's all going to be all about the pivot foot. There are 2 basic definitions of traveling. One is illegal foot movement while you're holding the ball. And the other part is touching the floor with any part of the body other than the hand or foot while holding the ball. Okay, pretty simple there. In order to call traveling, we have to process several steps in order to make the call. We must determine, and rather quickly at times, if the player is holding the ball, they've caught a pass or they've rebounded the ball, or the player has ended their dribble by holding the ball. Next, you have to, once they're holding the ball, you have to know what the position of the feet are when they get that initial holding of the ball. Then you get to determine the pivot foot. Then you have to determine if they've done something called a jump stop. And this is something that's defined by rule, not something that, you know, maybe your coach taught you when you were playing. Did you guys play? Daniel and Tyree, were you guys ball players?
Yep.
Yeah. Played for.
Where'd you play at?
I played at Meadowdale High
played,
School.
yeah. I played way back in the day at Bainbridge High School. And
Okay, and how
I've
about you,
coached quite a
Tyree?
bit of ball too.
Oh, okay. How
Yeah, I
about you,
played all
Tyree?
through growing up, and then I played varsity at Meadowdale High School.
Meadowdale. Okay, cool beans.
Yeah.
And then you have to determine, has the player violated the restrictions on the pivot foot? So you have 5 steps you have to determine every time to know if a player traveled or not. And then if the player falls to the floor, you have to determine, were they holding the ball or had finished gathering the ball before or after they landed on the floor? Because it makes a difference if they're holding the ball when they hit the floor versus hit the floor, then hold the ball. All right, so is the player holding the ball or has ended their dribble? Well, what is holding the ball? All right, hold on, let me go back one. Oh, sorry, hit the wrong button.
I like your PowerPoint background, Mike. That's original.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, I like
That
it.
other one,
The blue background with the, yeah.
the one
With
that
the
I have
logo?
right now. All right.
No, not the,
Can you
the one
see
on your
me in
slide.
the screen?
Yes.
This is holding the ball. This is not holding the ball. Everything else in between is going to be our judgment. Knowing when our dribble is ended is important for both calling travel and for helping with continuous motion. So if I'm dribbling the ball, one of the rules of traveling is you can't travel while you're dribbling the ball. So as long as I'm dribbling the ball, I'm good. I can move my feet all over the place. I'm all good. But once I've stopped, now I'm holding the ball, and you have to know what my feet are doing at that point. All right, determine the position of the feet. If you think about it, when I'm holding the ball, my feet can only be in one of three positions. They are, both feet are on the floor, boom.
Are you trying to, do
Both
you think
feet
you're
are gonna
showing
be
us your
off the-
PowerPoint?
What's that?
Do you think you're sharing your PowerPoint? Because you're not.
Oh, I thought I was.
Now, when you went to your little demo, you never turned.
Oh, okay. Well, let me go back to sharing then. I didn't know I went back out.
Oh, we got another person, Ron.
Where is,
Share screen down at the bottom.
no, it's right there. I just had to find the thing to share.
Thank you. That's better.
Okay. So what would have been cool is you'd have seen the stuff slide through there. The feet can only be in one of three positions. Like I said, they're either both feet are on the floor, both feet are going to be off the floor, or one foot is on the floor and the other foot is off. So you really only have those three positions to think about when trying to understand what is going on with their floor. All right. To determine the pivot foot. If both feet are on the floor when the person is holding the ball, the first foot lifted, the other foot becomes the pivot foot. So if I lift the right foot first when both feet are on the floor, that makes the left foot the pivot foot. If I lift the left foot, the right foot's the pivot foot. Make sense? We're all good?
Yep.
If both feet are off the floor, if both feet land simultaneously, either foot may be the pivot foot, just like in the first bullet. If one foot lands first, that foot is now the pivot foot when the other foot lands. However, off that one foot, you could also do what's called the jump stop. And that's where I have the video for it. And then lastly, on the third bullet, if you catch the ball with one foot on the floor, the other foot off the floor, the foot on the floor is the pivot foot. And guess what? You can do that jump stop again. I'm going to show a quick video. Let's see. Zoom. What happened to my share?
Oh, I know you're a master of Zoom, Mike. There we go. I see.
Oh,
There we
yeah.
go. There we go.
How do I get this bigger?
And
Let me
the
move this down.
can't you know there's nothing in the corner, is there? Is that that might work?
It's
You're gonna have to start that at the beginning. I'm not sure, Mike. I don't see any little widgets there.
No, I don't, other than this screen right here, but I think it's telling me I could share it on my TV.
Yeah,
If one foot lands first, when the other foot touches the floor, it becomes the pivot foot. So this hits first. Once I hit this, what's my pivot foot? Right foot, exactly. From here, a player can do a jump stop. Do this. Hold on, don't go back. I jump. And I both feet simultaneously. Okay, go ahead, Doug. And then if one foot is on the floor, the other foot off the floor. The foot on the floor is the pivot foot. Okay, and again, go back. Hit it, Doug. I can do a jump stop. I can go here, jump, land on both feet simultaneously. Simultaneously is the key. Go back. I'm on the one foot. If I jump and I go, is that simultaneously? Travel. Okay. Everything in between this, throw it, and this, throw it back. Go ahead. Everything in between those two is our judgment on whether or not they hit it simultaneously. Do we have a question?
Well, no, I think I observed, including myself, on the jump stop. So you catch the ball with the one foot on the ground.
Okay, catch it.
We often allow that second foot to continue toward the basket, right? Then the second foot comes down on a step, and then they jump stop.
And then they go.
And then they jump stop, and that's a travel.
That is definitely a
And
travel.
I would tell you that I personally don't always call it.
And then We know that, Steve. Exactly. So once I do this jump stop, can I pivot?
Appreciate the editorial comments.
No pivot. We
All
are
right.
terrible at this.
Ask him to admit it for a change, though.
Hey, hold on. Let me pause this.
You cannot pivot.
was that at UW? Was that when we had our meetings at UW?
No, that's at Bellevue College.
Okay,
So that piece was just talking about the jump stop itself.
One foot lands first.
We often allow that.
you're still talking.
Yeah,
Once I do this jump stop,
hold on.
can I pivot? Who thinks I can pivot after a jump stop? No pivot. We are terrible at this travel.
Yes, we are.
Going off of one foot, jumping, landing on both feet simultaneously.
Okay, let me stop that. All right. So on the jump stop that I was demoing there, it's defined by a rule, and it has to do with jumping off of one foot and landing on both feet simultaneously. It can only occur if the player lands on one foot or is on one foot after holding the ball before they put down the other foot. The player may jump off the one foot and they need to land on both feet simultaneously. They can't jump off of one foot and then land left and right. They have to jump off the one foot and land both feet simultaneously. And then this is the big one that we tend to screw up is once the player completes the jump stop, they can't pivot. Does that make sense? Hold the ball, jump off of one foot, land on both feet simultaneously. They cannot pivot. And we'll see some plays about this.
Hey, Mike,
Yes.
will you clarify that you can pick up the pivot foot but can't put it back down? That didn't seem clear there in that 2 bullets back.
Well, I'm getting ready to go through the pivot foot restriction, so that's going to be part of it.
Thank you.
Right. So once you've established that pivot foot, it may not be lifted and returned to the floor. It may not be lifted before the player releases the ball for a dribble. So he has the ball, pivots on the left foot, pivot, moves the right foot around. And then just before they let go of the ball for the dribble, they lift that left foot. It's a travel. However, it can be lifted before the player releases the ball for a pass or a try.
So the other
So
common thing
sometimes-
that the other common thing that you see there sometimes is a player goes up for a shot and realizes he's heavily defended or she's heavily defended, and then tries to put the ball down on the floor and dribble. And that's not legal, right? Because you can't
Correct.
put your foot up before you dribble.
Correct. And of course, you can't drag your pivot foot. And then a player gaining control of the ball while diving for a loose ball. There's actually some pretty good casebook plays out there concerning this particular play. You can gain control of the ball while on the floor, not while in the air before touching the floor. Does that make sense?
No,
So you can't, if you, let's say you go up for a rebound, you catch the rebound and then go on the floor, that would be a travel because you're holding the ball and then some other part other than your foot or hand touch the floor.
thank you.
However, if you're on the floor and the ball is loose and you grab it while you're already on the floor, you're good to go. And I actually just saw a pretty good play on Facebook where it was an NBA game where the guy was on the ground sliding, caught the ball while he was sitting on the floor and was slid back about 5 feet. And of course, all the fans are screaming, all the fans that are there are screaming for a travel, and it's not a travel because he gained control of the ball while on the floor. And that's where you can slide if you're momentum, because these kids are sweaty, they dive for a ball and they get it and they slide 5-10 feet. It's all good as long as it's caused by their momentum. But once they stop sliding, they cannot try to stand or roll away.
Hey, Mike,
Yes,
back in the olden days, we used to be able to start a dribble and then stand up after that.
that's the last bullet I just popped up.
Now, see, I should have waited. Sorry about that.
It's all right, Scott. No, and right, that's absolutely right. As long they can start a dribble while they're on the floor and get up because you can't travel while you're dribbling. They can start to dribble as long as it wouldn't be a double dribble. Right? They've dribbled the ball, caught it, fumbled it, went down to the ground to get it. They can't start a dribble to get back up again because they've already used one of their one dribble.
You guys that are signed in here, if you have questions for Mike, there's a very small group of you, so I'm sure he could handle your questions. Feel free to jump in.
And we'll show some video clips too that might help. This is just a lot of verbiage and sometimes it's hard to visualize what's going on, but this is the verbiage. A lot of it's in 444. It's really, like I said, it's a rule you got to get to know. This last little piece before I start showing videos is early on in my career, I was taught that if it looks funny, it must be traveling. And I've learned in my experience that that's not true. I will caveat it by saying, if it looks funny and they started a dribble, then you probably do have a travel, because if it looks funny, that probably meant both feet were in the air at some point, and you can't start a dribble having lifted the pivot foot. So don't call travel just because it looks funny. Call travel because you can tell the coach exactly what happened. we've talked about this. Player can't travel if they don't have control of the ball. So if the ball's rolling across their shoulders as they're trying to get it, or they're fumbling trying to get it, if they don't have control of it, they cannot travel. A player can always recover their own fumble. You know, if they've dribbled and then they fumble the ball, they can run over and get the ball. They may not be able to dribble anymore, but they're always able to at least recover it. And then this was one I learned of one of my first meetings was a player can always rebound their own try, even if it is an air ball.
Really? How's that?
Because, great question. It's because that once you release the ball on a try, there is no more team control or player control unless you're an airborne player. So anybody can get the rebound, including the person that shot it. You have to judge it though, that it's a try. If they're standing out at the 3-point line and they make a little shooting motion that the ball goes 5 feet and they run around behind the guy and catch the ball, yeah, that's not a try.
Has that always been the rule?
It's been the rule for 30 some years that I've been officiating.
That's
Yeah,
another one of
surprise,
those.
huh?
Yeah, that's
By
another
the way,
one that looks
after
fun.
you grab the rebound, you can then dribble it.
Yep.
Does that
Crazy,
make sense,
huh?
Tyree?
I've seen that called the travel a lot. Like a guy will go up for a layup, airball it, get his own rebound, and I usually see that called the travel. But
If you're
I-
watching the
I would be
NBA,
su-
it is a travel, but
I would be surprised if you've seen it at a varsity high school level. It's
Yeah.
something you might see in rec ball or youth ball because the people who are officiating aren't trained. You know, they just gave them a shirt and a whistle at Kent Park and Rec and, you know,
Yeah.
threw them a rule book and said, show up on Saturday morning for 4 games. So, but no, this has always been, as long as the official judges it as a try, you can get your own air balls.
How about at the collegiate level?
Yes, I think the only one you can't is the NBA,
right.
That's correct, to my best knowledge, yeah.
to my best knowledge.
You know, they're always changing stuff, but yeah.
Yeah, I will not pretend to know the NBA rules at all. I used to be pretty good at NC2A women's, but not anymore. I just focus on the high school stuff. And this to me is probably one of the biggest things that I can say about traveling is if you blow your whistle, you have to be right. You don't want to, I would rather almost miss a travel because I'm not 100% sure and keep the game moving as opposed to calling one that I learn later on, is it? And I stop playing, I gave the team the other ball. I mean, you try not to miss obvious travels and stuff like that, but there is a lot of cutting hair, splitting the hair travels out there that go on that can be a challenge. And unless you're able to referee in slow motion and take snapshots right there to be able to get your calls right, we're gonna still be human. So make sure, you know, if you blow your whistle, that you're right, that I can tell the coach, he replanted his pivot foot.
And I think the other point on that is when you're refereeing a ball handler, you've got other things going on besides just their pivot foot, right? And it'll take some time for you to be able to take in that whole play where you're able to actually find the pivot foot, but you're also able to see illegal contact or other things that are going on with the play. So, you know, there's times where you'll see like an obvious travel when the referee doesn't call it, and it's because they're looking at something else, and they literally don't have their eyes on their feet. So just another thing to think about when you're out there.
Yeah, it becomes a challenge because one of the basics that you're taught as well as an official is to referee the defense, because the defense will take it to the offensive player, and you want to know what the status is of the defense. Do they have legal guarding position, things like that. So you tend to have a bit more focus on them than the ball handler, dribbler, stuff that goes on in the paint can be a challenge, especially for the lead. So we like to trail or see to help out, get the travels, because the leads usually, they've got that defensive player there. So it is a very, very tough call.
And
And it's all-
one thing, I'm sorry, Mike, one thing that makes it tougher is that when you guys start refereeing games, you're going to be refereeing less skilled players. And every game you do is going to be a little bit different. And you're not going to be able to call the traveling rule purely if you want to have the games finished within less than 2 hours. So you just need to ascertain what is the skill level of the players. If they're skilled and they travel, then it's travel. But if they can barely make a pass to the wing, you're just going to have to decide what you're going to call and not that game. So it's not as simple as it seems.
Right. The higher the level, it actually gets a little bit more simpler because then you can call it when you see it and it's not as big a deal. So, but yeah, the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th grade levels, those can be extremely challenging. And, in the end, you just want to be consistent. You might even see a skilled team versus a not so skilled team, and you're not going to do any good by not calling it on the skilled team because they're not going to get better. Whereas the unskilled team, you're just hoping they get 1 or 2 shots off and the game's not going to be 50-0 kind of deal. So it is definitely a challenge at the younger levels.
Oh, my favorite.
Yeah.
We're bad at this call. We're bad.
We are extremely bad. I've got several little videos, I think, to show it. Usually done by a player making a move to the basket. It's a pivoting motion as opposed to a stepping motion because they're spinning around on a foot. And it always becomes a travel when the pivot foot is replanted. So this is a tough one because you have to determine when the player started holding the ball, did they have 1 foot on the floor and 1 foot off? Did they have both feet off the floor? Or again, did they have both feet on the floor? They don't normally start spin moves with both feet on the floor. Usually at least 1 foot's in the air, if not both. So, and I got some spin move plays to show you as well. So let's go to here. I'm going to go to share. I have to go to share, right? Stop share. And then I'm going to share again.
There's a way you can share your whole screen so you don't have to keep coming in and out. It took me a while to figure that one out, but.
Oh, well, I don't know what that is, so.
Don't worry about it. I'm just saying.
Let's see.
You make the call. We see this. Okay.
Play 6. Is this move by black number 14 illegal?
We're not seeing it, Mike.
Oh, sorry. I thought I shared it. You're not, oh, it's because it went to a different thing.
Yep. When you hit share screen, one of the options that you get like
drives towards the lane and
how's that?
executes
Perfect.
a stop and go spin move around her defender and scores. This is a challenging play. Which foot is established as the pivot foot when the dribble is ended?
Which foot do you have as the pivot foot?
The right foot.
Right. I also had a right foot as well.
The right foot or the left foot?
So again, that was a play where she she did her pivot foot, lifted her pivot foot and did the try, so she's
Is
good.
this a legal play or is this a traveling violation? You make the ruling.
Do you guys all agree with that?
Yeah, looks good to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
think
thought
so.
it looked good to me as well.
Play 7.
So this is an actual jump
Is the ruling
stop
of a
play.
travel on white number 11 correct?
Good mechanics by that ref.
White number 11 receives a pass in the lane area and attempts to execute a jump stop as she maneuvers to get a shot.
So she does a good job. She jumped off of the 1 foot and landed on both feet simultaneously.
The
But
trail
then,
official rules a travel on the play.
she
Is that
pivoted.
correct? Or was this a legal play? The ruling of a travel by white number 11 is correct. White number 11 executes a legal jump stop, but then takes a step before jumping to attempt the try.
There she's going off 1 foot,
This is an excellent example.
lands
of
on
the
both
right
feet
official making the ruling
simultaneously,
as the play goes away from the lead and opens up
and then
for the trail
pivots.
official. He correctly rules a travel and uses appropriate signals when doing so. The center official also had an open look at the play and could have helped if needed.
Just a quick story about this play. So that girl who I just called the travel on is
I know
Haley
who it
Van
is.
Lith.
Yeah.
And, she's now at Louisville super stud. So this is near the end of the first quarter. The score is only 4-2. And when I called this travel on her, the Kings fans started chanting, "Overrated, overrated." Lit him up for 29 points in the second quarter.
So in this case, this is kind of a different question, but the primary on this is the lead, but the looks like the center or the trail official made the call. Is that typical?
Yeah, because as the guy said, she's actually turning away from the lead, and it actually kind of opens up to me. And I think he'll even say in the end that C could have got this as well.
Okay.
But when in your 2-person games, the C is really like the trail. So yeah, the trail could easily get that from the opposite side of the lead if it was a 2-person game.
Because it's actually coming towards him, and he's should have a good look at that play. And the leads actually has a defender between her and the ball handler, so she's probably looking for fouls and things like that. Doesn't mean she couldn't have gotten it, but I think in those kind of plays in 3-person crews, that's where it looks good for the trail to get it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's unlike a foul call where if it's not in your designated area, you really want to leave it to the primary to make the call. A traveling type call, it's not as that boundary doesn't exist between referees, so to speak.
Well, I think especially where you guys are starting, what's going to be good is if you blow your whistle on plays that are in your PCA is important. And as I was talking earlier with Steve and Scott, I do not mind double whistles on plays, especially things that go on in the paint, because I don't want to say it's one person's call and that's going to keep somebody else from making the call, because sometimes that person who's supposed to have the call doesn't have the good look. So you have to, judge it on, do they have that look or not, and put your air in the whistle if need be. And if it turns into a double whistle, let the primary official take it to the table.
But
So
Mike,
kind of
I would kind of
answer-
highlight the first part of your answer there, right? Which was when you're first starting out, try to stay and make calls in your primary. and let your partner make the calls in their primary. And then as you get more comfortable with the game and the game slows down a little bit, and you're able to help your partner on things that they might not see, then you can kind of progress to that next step.
Yeah, that's where you start making process calls, where you're learning the whole start, develop, finish decisions, and then blowing your whistle, as opposed to just reaction because you saw something and you're blowing your whistle right off. And that just stays with games. Now, you might have a situation in a game where, right, all of a sudden your partner's blowing something that's right in front of you. Then I might at a timeout go, so what? Why were you looking? Why did you blow that whistle right in front of me? Give me a chance to make that call. And again, that comes from like what Steve's saying, just more
Experience.
more games, more repetition, more confidence. But yeah, you're going to work with some officials who are very anal about how much they don't like double whistles, and you're going to work with the other officials who are okay with them when they're in appropriate spots, because there are appropriate spots for double whistles and there are definitely inappropriate spots for them to occur. Okay, let me see. Stop share. Let me go here. Any other questions on that one there? Let me see. I've got some more here. Let me see. Where's my share again? Share screen. All right, here's a pretty good traveling clip.
Help, 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 help.
Everybody see that?
No, try it again.
Help, 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 help.
That again was one of those spin move travels.
Can you play that? Can you slow it down, Mike, so everybody can see it?
Well, probably not.
Okay.
It's just on there. But as you can tell in this picture, he has holding the ball and he's got his left foot on the floor and his right foot is up in the air. And this guy right here, this nice ball-headed, good-looking guy right here has a great look at it. And the player's going to plant his right foot, spin, and replant the left foot. Now, the only thing I would say was a pretty quick whistle there, but it was the right call.
And the other thing about that call right there is that you don't want to turn your back on the play like that official did. You can make that call and still be facing the players.
Great point, Stacy. We never want to turn our backs on the 10 players when we make a call.
Especially when there's only 2 officials on the floor.
Yeah, they could still be looking right. If it's just the 2 of you, and what would actually be happening is the old lead new trail would be coming across over here for the throw in, and he would be going across over there. So you want to keep your players in front of you. Actually, that's a great cadence. Good call, Scott.
I see that move a lot.
The spin move?
Yeah, not every ref calls it a travel.
Most don't.
It's hard. I had a game that I was determined I was going to call them, and I called 3, and my partners didn't call anything, and they weren't going to call any. So I had to quit calling them because it just wasn't fair. It's tough.
But by the definitions that we read, it does look like a travel.
It totally
Yes.
is travel.
Especially in the high school game or even younger, the kids aren't strong enough to get up without replanting the pivot foot. They pivot on, and we determined that that's the pivot foot. They go to the second step, and then they have to put the pivot foot down in order to jump. It happens all the time.
Except in that first video that Mike showed of that gal, it looked really awkward, but she did it
Yeah,
right.
from kind of a standing start. Yeah, I agree with that. Yep, she did a good job.
Now, so where you said we don't always get that travel, here's a situation where his lame partner doesn't get the travel. So there it was right there. He started with his left foot as the pivot foot, stepped on his right foot, spun around it, and replanted his left foot.
You know, Tyree, if these already look illegal to you, you're way ahead of a lot of referees who've been reffing a long time, so stick with it.
There it was. Left, right, left spin. That was a pretty big little, that was
Yeah,
almost
travel.
2 travels in one. So he catches the ball. So there he's spinning on his right foot, getting ready to replant his left foot.
He does a little hop in there too, doesn't he?
Yeah, he almost brings both feet back up after he started spinning.
Yeah, he like did a sort of jump stop that wasn't really a legal jump stop.
No, because at no point were his feet ever hitting the floor simultaneously.
Correct. Do you guys all see that? Does that all look illegal to you?
Oh yeah. For
Hey,
sure.
Oren, I see that you're on the call, but you're being really quiet. Are you good?
Yeah, I'm cool.
All right.
Let's go, Ravens!
Wow.
Yeah, she was very excited about this. So if you watched what the post player does.
Let's go, Ravens!
Yeah, I thought I silenced you. Sorry, that's pretty distracting. Sorry about that.
It's okay.
But the player gets the ball and actually moves both feet to get in, and that's a great traveling call. All right, so this is another one of the spin move travels. There he was on his right foot, gonna spin on his left foot and replant the right foot. Good at making those from trail. And here's a very similar one.
Oh God, yeah.
And this time his right foot was the pivot foot spun, or the left foot was the pivot foot, spun on the right and replanted the left, just went the opposite way.
Yeah, if you look at enough of these, they all start looking pretty obvious. But we don't call them.
There he is. He spun off. He went off his left foot, planted his right foot, and now he's going to replant the left foot.
God, who is that amazing official?
He gets lucky every once in a while.
Oh, that's a favorite.
So this is kind of the a hardened step back. So a jump stop, we think of a player going forward. Well, the hardened step back is, it needs to be a jump stop going backwards, to where if they push off the 1 foot to go back, they still need to land on both feet simultaneously. They can't push off and land foot, and then shoot. In the NBA, that's legal. In high school and college, it's supposed to be illegal. Let's see what we think about her step back. Actually looked pretty good, didn't it?
Yeah, it looks
Did it
pretty
look
good.
to you like she landed on both feet simultaneously when she did that?
Mhm.
In real time, yeah.
In real time, right, it does to me. Just know that that play is a travel if they don't land on both feet simultaneously.
Yeah, I like this next clip.
After what we watched today, what do we think?
Travel.
I said it's a hard one, but it's pretty obvious, especially when you see him push off so hard off of that 1 foot while holding the ball. It's such a key because, I mean, you can see it right there that that player is holding the ball and pushing off of the 1 foot at that time.
And then they put it back down. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very,
we
very,
talked about her at halftime. I think we actually started calling that in the second half.
Can you play it one more time real quick?
sure.
Thank you.
I'll even play it again and try to stop it at that spot. Oh, a little late. So there you can see she's picked up the ball, and her right foot is the one that's planted and her left foot is swinging around. And then replants spinning around replants the right foot.
Does that make sense, Oren?
Yeah, I'm actually playing in this game. I'm at the end of the bench right there.
Ah,
Over here. Can you see my
Yeah.
cursor?
that's so funny.
You played for Coach Bullock? Is this Woodinville playing here?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what it is.
Yeah. The trail had a really good look at that and just decided to not blow his whistle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It can be
Again,
like that.
so
That
the
official
lead down
trail.
here looks like Jessica.
Yeah.
It is.
You know, she's not going to see it. She's got this player here. This player is going to come in and kind of block the view. C's got, you know, it's
Now-
quite a ways away. They might have a good look if they step down. But really, this is a great trail call because he's got the best view of the ball. He can totally tell when the player is holding the ball and what the position of the feet are when that happens.
She made that move all season long. I think I had them 4 times that year.
How many
Occasionally
travels
she
did
got-
you
kept doing it. Now
Occasionally she got called for travel.
Oh, funny. Okay, let's see. Stop share. Okay, and go back to this guy. Where's that guy? Perfect. All right, so here are the takeaways that I'd like for you guys to come out of what you've seen and heard tonight. The first part is the 5 things we have to process every time before we can call travel that fast. Sometimes we have to determine if the player is holding or is finished gathering the ball from a dribble. We have to know what the position of the feet were. Remember, there's only three possible positions that the feet can be in. Both feet in the air, both feet on the ground, or 1 foot in the air and 1 foot on the ground. And then we have to determine if they've done a jump stop, which is the jumping off of 1 foot, landing on both feet simultaneously. And then has the player violated the restrictions on the pivot foot? Remember, they can't lift it and replant it. They can't lift it prior to the start of a dribble, but they can lift it to do a try or a pass,
As long as they don't put it back down.
as long as they don't put it back down before they release the ball on the try or the pass. And you have to go through this process from catch to release a ball every time. The other takeaway would be is don't talk about traveling in the terms of steps. In high school and college, traveling is all about the pivot foot and movement that's legal or illegal once you establish the pivot foot. And I think that's it.
Thanks, Mike. Anybody have any questions out there, or something you didn't understand?
So Stacy, I've got a pile of it's actually a one program that this guy put together that by himself shows typical moves that players make, some of which that are legal and some of which that are illegal. And it probably runs, I don't know, 20 minutes or so by the time you're through with it all. And do we have a place where the apprentices can access this tape?
Yeah, we can put it, you know, we can put it where the recorded sessions are on their website.
Let me I'm going to just start it here for just a quick second so that people can see it. So this guy here basically will run through, and let me just take, I know we got 3 or 4 minutes. Let me just do this for just about a couple of minutes just to show.
I can't hear him.
Can we hear it? Can you hear that? Did I not share the sound? Okay, hang on a second. I've learned that now that I forgot to share sound.
Yeah, if you can send me the video or tell me where it is, I can post it.
Okay, so now
He doesn't want to talk to us. Well, now you made it so it's not even running. You still with us, Steve?
He looks frozen.
Okay, I'll
There
stop. So we can, but this would be something that would be available to you all, and it runs through, again, typical moves that you would see in a game and which ones of them are legal and which ones are illegal. And he does a really good job with it, you know, and he does it at speed, and then he'll at normal speed, and then he'll actually slow it down and kind of show you what's going on with the footwork. So I'd recommend taking a look at it.
Yeah, just send it to me and I'll post it and let everybody know when it's up. All right, thanks you guys that joined us. I was hoping there'd be more people on, but hey, you guys are the winners and hopefully other people will watch the recording. So thanks, Mike. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Mike.
Yeah, you're welcome,
Thank you.
everybody. Hopefully you guys got something out of it that'll help you guys once we all get back out on the court.
It's
All
great.
right.
Thank you a lot. That helps a lot.
Guys.
All right, have a good one, everybody.
Thanks.
Thank you. I have a
Right.
question.
Yeah,
For the ref shirt, I have the rest of the outfit, but for the or the uniform, but for the rest of the for the ref shirt,